Discover the life-changing moment when a kind girl aided a hidden millionaire, an inspiring tale. Ellie hurried through the downpour, the chill of the rain soaking her through to the bone. But inside the diner, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee was like a warm hug. She winked at Mrs. Hargrove as she flipped pancakes, the old woman's smile brightening the room. Each morning, Ellie served coffee and pie to the familiar faces of her small Missouri town, her laughter echoing off the walls, masking the weight she carried. Beneath her cheerful demeanor, the struggles of her family created a tight knot in her chest. In their crumbling home, every dollar she earned helped her younger siblings stay fed and hopeful. Amid the usual chatter, Ellie noticed Mr. Thompson sitting alone in the corner booth. He was a man she'd seen occasionally, his weathered hands gripping a chipped mug that whispered of his solitude. A shroud of mystery hung around him, but Ellie saw something in his eyes, an unspoken bond that tugged at her heart. She made her way over, pouring him a fresh cup of coffee, her spirit glowing with connection. "How about some pie today?" she asked brightly. That day marked the beginning of an unusual friendship that evolved through shared stories and warm laughter. Mr. Thompson spoke softly, revealing bits of his past stories of love, loss, and dreams left behind. Ellie listened intently, each tale resonating deeply within her. Moments spent with him felt like a lifeline to a brighter world where dreams weren't just for the privileged. But just when Ellie thought she could lift her family from despair, trouble loomed. The local council proposed a zoning law that would displace families, all for profit, leaving Ellie breathless. She felt the flames of injustice ignite inside her as anger and fear wrestled for control. The thought of her neighbors losing their homes was unbearable. She thrust herself into action, confronting the council, her heart pounding as she spoke truth to power. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Ellie's voice trembled but rang out with fierce conviction. Yet when the backlash came, the betrayal cut deeper than she anticipated. Whispers of dissent and judgment clouded the room as the council's indifference weighed heavy on her heart. She felt the walls closing in, her dream of college slipping away, buried under the town's growing animosity. Determined not to lose hope, she organized a meeting in the diner, believing that together they could make a difference. As the townsfolk gathered, her heart raced, searching for the right words to unite the community against the impending doom. But the room felt cold. Her passionate plea vanished into the air, unheard. The pain of failure crashed down on her like the relentless rain outside. Just when it seemed all was lost, Mr. Thompson emerged from the shadows, ready to reveal a truth that would change everything. With his wealth, he wanted to uplift the community, supporting Ellie's vision of solidarity and hope. The spark in her heart ignited anew. This wasn't just about her dreams anymore. It was a chance to inspire change. Yet as excitement surged, a question lingered in her mind. Could a single act of kindness be strong enough to break the chains of despair? The journey to uncover the answer was just beginning, and Ellie was terrified yet exhilarated to find out what would happen next. As Ellie gathered her thoughts in the diner, she felt a surge of determination. Mr. Thompson's offer hung in the air like a lifeline, ready to be grasped. She took a deep breath, wiping her damp palms on her apron. The townsfolk, still uncertain, glanced around, mumbling their doubts. "Mr. Thompson," she started, her voice trembling, "you have the means to help us. But that means so much more than just money. It's about community and hope." His eyes sparkled as he nodded. "You're right, Ellie, but we need a plan. We must show them why this community matters, why houses are more than just bricks and mortar. They hold lives, dreams, families." His words ignited a fire within her. "What if we organize a community fair? something to draw people in, showcase our strengths, and remind everyone what we stand to lose. A flicker of interest spread among the townsfolk. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the diner, lifting Ellie's spirit. She could feel them slowly warming to the idea. To bring the community together with laughter and games, food and company, it was exactly what they needed. It was more than just an event. It was a declaration of their unity. Days turned into nights as they rallied everyone's efforts. Each morning, Ellie would greet Mrs. Hargrove with newfound energy, helping her plan the pie-eating contest. The sound of laughter filled the diner as they brainstormed possible games, and even the grumpiest patrons caught the spark of excitement. However, with every ounce of hope came weighty doubts. What if no one showed up? What if the council ignored their efforts? As the fair day approached, Ellie often found herself lost in a sea of anxiety. Her dreams were intricately woven with her family's survival. On the day of the fair, the sky was a brilliant blue, the kind of day that promised joy. Ellie stood behind a booth decorated with colorful banners, her heart pounding against her ribs. The familiar smell of Mrs. Hargrove's pancakes wafted through the air alongside the scent of caramelized apples. Residents trickled in, some familiar faces, others hesitant. They gathered around, drawn by laughter and the buzz of excitement. Ellie spotted Mr. Thompson, standing tall, enthusiastically welcoming newcomers, his presence a reassuring beacon. As the events played out, kids giggling with sticky hands, smiles lighting up even the faces of those who had once frowned disapprovingly, Ellie felt a swell of hope larger than she had ever known. But just as she began to think they might be making a difference, she spotted a figure in the distance. It was the councilman, Mr. Rogers, his face etched into a mask of displeasure as he surveyed the fair. Panic spiked in her heart. Would this be the end of their efforts? Would he dismiss everything they'd worked towards? With a swift look to Mr. Thompson, they exchanged silent resolve. Just as Ellie took a step forward, she felt the ground shift beneath her. What if she approached him? What if this moment, this spark of solidarity, could change everything? Her heart raced, aching with determination as she prepared to confront the storm of opposition. Would Ellie take the step into the unknown and gamble their future on hope? With the weight of her community at her back, she felt her resolve amping. But before she could take a full breath, she noticed something unusual in Mr. Rogers' pocket. A piece of paper protruded, crumpled and hastily hidden. What did it contain? Was it a note of condemnation or something else entirely? As uncertainty thrummed in the air, Ellie felt the edges of her world shift once more. What was Mr. Rogers hiding? The answer might just turn the tide of their struggle. Ellie's nerves danced like fireflies in her stomach as she squinted toward Mr. Rogers. The bustle of the fair faded into a low hum, everything around her blurring except for that piece of paper. What could it possibly mean for them? Mr. Rogers shifted uncomfortably, as if sensing her gaze. He glanced around, his expression tightening as he caught a glimpse of the enthusiasm bubbling around the fair. Ellie had seen that look before, the mix of powerlessness and irritation at having no control over something he didn't want. Her step forward felt heavy, almost like wading through mud. Every heartbeat echoed in her ears. The laughter, the shared joy, all felt fragile. She had to approach him, to confront this moment head-on. "Mr. Rogers," she called out, her voice gaining strength. He turned abruptly, his eyes cold yet curious. The moment she looked into his eyes, she remembered the weight of every family she had met in town, the struggles, the sacrifices. "I need to talk to you." He took a moment, visibly considering whether to simply walk away or engage. But the fair's energy had drawn him in. "What is it?" he asked, annoyance slipping into his tone. "It's about this fair," she began, the words rushing out as the faces of the crowd surrounded her thoughts, filling her with purpose. "It's bigger than just today. This is about our community, our future. The people here believe they can still have a life worth living. You have the chance to support that." For a moment, she thought she saw a flicker of something behind his stern facade, a hint of recognition. The edges of doubt softened. "Life is complicated, Ellie. Decisions impact costs, loans. Not everything is as simple as you'd like it to be, he said, the paper in his pocket shifting slightly. What else on that note? She urged, her voice steady against his cynicism. If it holds something that matters to you, share it. We can work together. His eyes darkened, but for a fleeting second, Ellie could sense his resolve wavering. What if her intuition was right? What if that paper was something that could change their plans? A commotion from a crowd interrupted them as children squealed with delight over the ring toss game. Ellie's heart hurt for the joy they had captured today. Yes, it was chaotic, but it was alive. Listen, he finally said, voice softer, eyes darting back to the booth. I've been trying to make sense of all this, too. He pulled the paper from his pocket, unveiling its wrinkled form. But maybe Ellie's breath hitched as the words lingered between them. Hope hovered in the air like a gentle breeze. Maybe what? You can help? But just as he was about to unfold its contents, an urgent shout split the moment, slicing through the afternoon sun. Mr. Rogers, we need your help. There's been an accident. The sense of unity and hope simmering in Ellie's chest threatened to shatter. The energy shifted again, and she watched as he turned abruptly, the note slipping from his fingers and crumpling on the ground. In that instant, her heart sank. Would their chance slip away, lost in the chaos? Would Mr. Rogers leave them behind because of a distraction? This was not just about him. It was about everyone who had come today in search of hope. As he rushed off, Ellie stepped forward to pick up the paper, heart racing. The wrinkled page felt heavy in her hands as she unfolded it to reveal what secrets lay within. Was it a chance for their dreams or a disaster waiting to unfold? With her heart pounding, the fair's laughter seemed like a distant memory, replaced by the anxious anticipation of what she would discover. Ellie held the crumpled paper delicately, her mind racing with possibilities. The fair buzzed around her, but all that noise faded into a muted background as she focused on the only thing that felt significant in that moment, what this note might contain. She took a deep breath, trying to calm the whirlpool of anxiety churning deep inside. Unfolding the paper, she felt the rough texture against her fingertips, revealing a single line scrawled in hurried handwriting. Urgent meeting with investors tomorrow, it read. Underneath, there was a list of names, some she recognized, others that were just shadows in her memory. A chill ran down her spine. This wasn't just about finances. It was about lives intertwined with hope, families counting on the very decisions that Mr. Rogers held in his hands. The laughter of children giggling on rides echoed around her, but Ellie found herself retreating into a space that felt entirely separate. She needed to act quickly. Did he even understand the power of this moment? Did he see the potential held within the excitement of the fair, the community rallying behind their dreams? Ellie, a familiar voice broke through the noise. It was Mia, her best friend, rushing toward her with wide-eyed concern. What happened? I saw Mr. Rogers run off. Is everything all right? Not yet, she replied, gripping the note tightly. But I think I found something important. Mia's eyes flicked down to the paper. What is it? Ellie hesitated. Should she share this? The names were significant potential avenues of help or hope for their community. It's about an urgent meeting he has tomorrow. But I think we can turn this around for everyone if we can just get him to see it. Mia nodded, quick to catch the spark of her determination. Then we need to find him. He can't just leave this behind. They scanned the fairgrounds, searching for the tall figure of Mr. Rogers. Their breaths quickened, urgency igniting the air around them. This is our chance, Ellie said, her voice barely above a whisper. We can't let this opportunity slip away. Just as they started moving toward the main path, the joyful sounds of the fair shifted. A loud crash interrupted the festivities, followed by a panicked shout. Ellie's heart dropped. What now? As the crowd surged toward the source of the noise, Ellie felt a pull in her gut, the tension in the air thickening. We have to help, she decided, knowing that this fair wasn't just a distraction. It was a lifeline for so many. Without another word, they rushed toward the unfolding chaos. When they arrived, they found a toppled food cart and a couple of elderly folks who had stumbled in the midst of the excitement. People were already helping them up, but Ellie crouched down beside them, all else forgotten. This was real. This was human connection. "Are you okay?" she asked, the warmth of empathy swelling within her as she checked on the couple. "Can you stand?" They nodded slowly, shaky but determined. Just then, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Rogers, standing at the edge of the scene, his expression a mix of worry and frustration. "Mr. Rogers," Ellie called out, waving her arms to get his attention. "We need your help here." His eyes widened as he took a step closer, seemingly torn between the chaos and his fleeting moment of decision. Ellie felt time slow and a sense of urgency pulsate in her chest. What'd he choose? Ellie faced him, feeling the weight of the moment balance on the edge of a knife. Could he forsake the urgency of the note for the immediate reality that they were all part of? The fair hung in the balance, waiting for him to decide, and so did the future of their community. Ellie held her breath, her heart hammering in her chest as she watched Mr. Rogers inch closer. He was clearly debating in his mind, weighing the urgency of the meeting against the needs right in front of him. The hum of the fair, once vibrant and celebratory, now felt distant, as if it was a different world altogether. "Mr. Rogers," she called again, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "These people need you right now." The couple were starting to gather themselves, but their shivering hands and frail frames reminded her of how quickly life could change. Mr. Rogers hesitated, his brow furrowing as he took another step forward. Ellie could see the conflict in his eyes. Could he truly abandon this moment of connection for something so corporate, so far removed from the very people he claimed to support? "Ellie, we need Mia," started, but Ellie's steely gaze stopped her mid-sentence. This wasn't tea, just chaos. It was an opportunity to remind Mr. Rogers of the heart behind the numbers, the faces behind the decisions. "Help them," she urged, gesturing not just toward the elderly couple, but to the crowd gathering, their anxious faces pleading for guidance. "Show them you're here for us. This is where the real impact is." The silence hung heavy, like suspended breath in a moment of clarity. Then ever so slowly, Mr. Rogers nodded. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental to Ellie, like he was finally awakening to the weight of his responsibilities. With purpose, he moved toward the couple, kneeling on the ground beside them. "Are you all right?" he asked, the worry in his voice genuine. The frail woman looked up at him, her eyes wide in disbelief. "We were okay, dear," she said, her voice wavering, "just a little shaken up." Ellie watched with a growing sense of hope as Mr. Rogers assured them he would make sure they were taken care of. This was what Ellie believed in, the seamless bond that could tie strangers together in a moment of need. "Let us get you some water," he said, helping them up, his hands steadying them. An undercurrent of admiration rippled through the crowd. They could see their leader stepping up. Ellie turned to Mia. "Do you think this will change things?" she asked, a glimmer of optimism cracking through her earlier anxiety. Mia nodded, a smile breaking across her face. "It has to. They need to see him as more than just a figure behind a desk." As Mr. Rogers led the couple toward the nearest booth, other fairgoers began to move closer, eagerly offering help and reassurances. A ripple of unity emerged, growing with every sympathetic gesture from the witnesses who had come together to support those who'd fallen. Ellie felt a warmth that reached deep within, a sense of purpose. Maybe, just maybe, this small act could steer the future in a brighter direction. "Ellie, look," Mia pointed toward the center of the fair again, where Mr. Rogers had now attracted a small crowd, each one listening to him. He.S. actually talking to them. Ellie's excitement surged anew. What started as panic transformed into hope as Mr. Rogers animatedly shared his vision about community partnerships, explaining how they could uplift everyone involved. The investors would have to see this. But even as they watched, Ellie's mind raced forward. The meeting tomorrow, would it be enough? Would he take this energy, this renewed connection, and bring it to the table when it mattered most? Just then, another sound punctured the moment. A high-pitched shout echoed from the ticket booth. Panic flared again, wrenching Ellie's gut as she recognized the voice. It was Sarah, a little girl they deemed met at the fair, her gaze wide with fear. "Help! My brother S lost." Ellie's heart skipped. The fair wasn't done testing them yet. Would they be able to save one more fragment of their community before the day was done? While Ellie felt compelled to help, she also couldn't shake the anxiety about Mr. Rogers' meeting. Tomorrow loomed larger now, its stakes so much higher. Would everything they worked for come crumbling down, or would it rise anew from the ashes? The fairground felt electric with tension. At first, Ellie hesitated, caught between the urgent need to find Sarah's brother and the lingering thoughts of the moment with Mr. Rogers. The collective energy of the crowd pulsed around her, a mix of concern and anticipation. She needed to move, to act. "Let us go find him. He can't be far," Mia urged, her eyes wide, scanning the throngs of people that flooded the midway. Ellie grabbed Mia's wrist, a sudden sense of purpose washing over her. "Okay, we'll check the games first. That area is always packed with kids." With a determined nod, they tore off in the direction of the noisy booths, the bright lights flashing wildly in the darkness. As they squeezed past families and friends, Ellie's heart raced. She remembered the small boy's face from earlier that day, innocent and lively. Where could he possibly be? "Sarah," Ellie called, hoping to catch the little girl's attention again. "Where did you last see him?" Sarah darted in and out of view, her panic palpable. "He was just here," she cried, her voice trembling. "He wanted to try the ring toss, but then he vanished." Ellie's own heart twisted with urgency. The ring toss booth sat a few yards away, its colorful prizes glowing under strings of fairy lights. "Let's check there," she shouted back, urgency propelling her forward. When they arrived at the booth, Ellie scanned the area. But all she saw were children bouncing on their toes, eager to show off their skills. "He.S. not here," she said, frustration creeping into her tone. Mia patted her arm. "We'll find him. Don't worry." But just then, a commotion erupted from behind them. A group of fairgoers had gathered near a food stand, pointing and whispering. Ellie's breath caught. "What's happening over there?" Mia squinted. "Let's go check it out." They weaved through the crowd until they reached the gathering. In the midst of the onlookers, a boy stood, maybe Sarah's lost brother. He had a puzzled look in his eyes, and Sarah burst into tears of relief the moment she caught sight of him. "Ryan," she hollered, rushing past the crowd. His face lit up like the summer sky as he saw her, and without hesitation, he sprinted towards her. They collided in a tight embrace, a picture of worry transforming into pure joy. "Oh, thank goodness," Ellie said, her heart swelling with relief. The atmosphere was thick with emotion. People clapped, cheers erupted around them. As the siblings caught their breath, a soft warmth enveloped Ellie, mingling with the overwhelming sense of camaraderie that had emerged among the fairgoers. They were all in this together, friends bound by the night's trials, strangers transformed into allies. But even as the celebrations washed over them, Ellie felt a nagging worry linger in her mind. Mr. Rogers had inspired them tonight, but the real battle lay ahead: the meeting, the potential fallout, the stakes of tomorrow. Just then, a familiar figure strode through the parted crowd. It was Mr. Rogers, his eyes sparkling with the aftermath of the connection he'd forged with the people earlier. He approached Ellie, recognition dawning. "That was something, wasn't it?" he said, a satisfied smile gracing his features. Ellie returned his smile, but the flicker of doubt remained. "Yes, but what about tomorrow? Will it matter?" In that moment, the world around them faded, and all Ellie could see was the depth of Mr. Rogers' eyes. Would he carry this experience into the meeting with him? Suddenly, the stakes felt higher than ever. And as the festival lights twinkled like a million stars above, Ellie knew tomorrow would be the true test. Would Mr. Rogers step up for those facing real lives off the fairground? The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Would they change the tides of the future, or would silence still reign? Ellie stood frozen, her thoughts swirling like the cotton candy gliding on the chilly breeze. The cheers continued, but all she could focus on was the intensity behind Mr. Rogers' eyes. He seemed to embody hope, yet beneath the surface lay an uncertainty that mirrored her own. Ellie, are you all right? Mia's concern sliced through the haze. Pulling herself from the moment, Ellie nodded, but doubt lingered. I don't know if this is going to change anything. Mia placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It already has. Look at them, she said, gesturing to Sarah and Ryan, their laughter ringing out like music among the shouts of festival-goers. True, Ellie conceded, a smile tugging at her lips. But the worry remained, gnawing at her insides like a persistent mouse searching for crumbs. Tomorrow's meeting loomed large in her mind. Mr. Rogers leaned closer. You have to believe, Ellie. Change doesn't happen overnight, but every small action counts. Just imagine what a single conversation might ignite. She wanted to believe him, to feel the optimism swell within her. Suddenly, the memories of their earlier discussions flooded back. The stories of his own journey, the struggles he faced. He was more than just a figure working for change. He, too, had tasted defeat and despair. I guess you're right, she said, struggling to mask the tremor in her voice. But how do we keep the momentum going? It starts with connections, he replied, his voice steady and warm. That's where you shine, Ellie. As he spoke, an older man approached, his face weathered but kind. He interrupted them, his eyes darting between Ellie and Mr. Rogers, curiosity shaping his features. Excuse me, but are you Mr. Rogers? Mr. Rogers straightened, a friendly smile crossing his face. Yes, I am. I heard what you did earlier. Thank you for helping the kids, the man said, his voice cracking slightly. Ellie's heart melted at the sincerity behind his words. It was a team effort, Mr. Rogers replied, glancing at Ellie and Mia. The man nodded, yet his expression turned solemn. You're right. It takes all of us. But I fear there are more who need you. His gaze shifted toward the darker side of the fairground, where flickering lights struggled against the shadows. We need a voice for those without one. The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. Ellie felt the electric buzz of possibility pulse through her. It was as if the universe had just cracked open, offering them a glimpse of the path ahead. Mia nudged Ellie with a knowing look. Maybe this is the start. You got this. But when she turned to face Ryan and Sarah, joy on their faces, the tug of uncertainty returned. They were not just kids. They were symbols of their effort, reminders of what was at stake. As Ellie took in the scene before her, laughter mingling with the festive music, she realized this was about so much more than a nearly lost boy. This festival had become a microcosm of every struggle, every victory, and every small act of kindness. Ellie pulled in a deep breath. The concept of working towards something greater filled her chest. Tomorrow, she whispered, determination flooding her voice, we're going to make sure it matters. Mr. Rogers nodded, a twinkle in his eyes. That's the spirit, Ellie. One step at a time. But as they began moving toward the crowd, a sudden crash echoed through the fairground, causing all heads to turn. There was a figure darting through the shadows, their identity cloaked in the chaos. Ellie's heart raced again, adrenaline pounding in her ears. What was happening now? Was this a call to action or a distraction from their purpose? She couldn't let fear take hold. They had made connections tonight, but was it enough? The fairground buzzed with confusion, and as Ellie stood, she realized she was ready to take that leap into darkness, whatever it brought. Would she emerge with her dreams intact? Or was this going to test everything she believed in? The figure that stumbled through the shadows came to a sudden halt, causing a ripple of gasps through the crowd. Ellie squinted, searching for clarity amidst the clamor. The dim lights flickered around them, revealing a young man, his clothes tattered, face drawn with a mix of angst and desperation. Hey, someone help, he shouted, the urgency in his voice cutting through the festival's laughter like a knife. A moment later, he fell to his knees, hands on the ground, breathing hard. Ellie's instinct kicked in. She stepped forward, fighting her way through the throng of onlookers who seemed frozen by shock. Are you okay? She asked, her voice barely audible above the sudden rise of murmurs around them. No, he gasped, looking up at her, eyes wild. I need help. I don't know what to do. With each word, Ellie felt the tug of vulnerability in her chest, the kind that told her this wasn't just another passing issue. It was someone in real, urgent need. What happened? It's my sister. She hurt. I couldn't get to her. I thought maybe... He choked, his thoughts scrambled. She noticed the faint wisp of tears in his eyes. Where's she? Mr. Rogers stepped forward, his presence calming yet assertive. We'll help you. At that moment, the festival lights shone brighter, a halo effect around the young man. Ellie's heart raced not from fear, but from a growing sense of purpose. She was at the old playground at the edge of town. I heard her scream, and I ran as fast as I could. He pleaded, desperation etched across his face. Stay here, Ellie said quickly, spinning toward Mia. We need to get someone to help him. Mia nodded, already moving into action. I'll get the organizers, she promised, rushing toward the main stage. Without hesitating, Ellie turned back to the young man. Can you walk? And no, he stammered, shaking his head. I don't know. His pain struck a chord deep within her. She instinctively knelt beside him, taking one of his trembling hands in hers. Listen to me, she said, compelling him with her gaze. We're going to help you get through this. But we need you to focus. You have to breathe with me, okay? As Ellie inhaled deeply, he followed, albeit shakily. They repeated the cycle until his panicked breathing began to steady. Now, tell me your name, she urged, keeping him grounded in the moment. Jake, he whispered, and she could sense the walls beginning to crumble around him. Jake, I want you to listen carefully, she instructed, her voice firm. We're going to get your sister the help she needs. Okay, he nodded, stealing a glance toward the darkness behind the fairground. The shadows seemed even deeper now, filled with unknown fears and doubts. Can you lead us there? Mr. Rogers asked, his hand resting comfortingly on Jake's shoulder. Yes, I think I can, Jake stammered, his voice growing stronger. With Mia returning, bringing 2 festival volunteers with her, Ellie felt the pulse of hope swell. It was a small team growing larger, generating a wave of action that felt infectious, a spark that could ignite something much bigger. Let us go, Ellie encouraged, her heart racing with the same blend of fear and excitement she felt before, only this time it was focused on helping someone else. As they started moving, Ellie couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was pivotal, a shift destined to alter the paths of so many. Jake began to lead the way, glancing back every few seconds, a flicker of hope glinting in his eyes. But just as they made their way toward the exit of the fairground, the scattered laughter and lively music faded into an unsettling silence, and Ellie sensed something was amiss. What loomed ahead felt uncertain, like a grand adventure just waiting to either break them apart or bind them together in resilience. Could they possibly save Jake's sister, or would this journey reveal other challenges lurking in the dark? The darkness enveloped them as they hurried through the edge of the fairground, leaving behind the bright lights and laughter of the festival. Ellie's heart pounded in rhythm with each hurried step. She stayed close to Jake, watching for signs of fear as the familiar sounds faded, replaced by the unsettling rustle of branches and the croaking of frogs from the nearby creek. Are you okay, Jake? She asked, her voice a tender whisper in the growing void around them. He hesitated, wiping away a stray tear with the back of his hand. I should have been there. I should have protected her. The guilt rolled off of him like a heavy mist, darkening the hope Ellie had been trying to light within him. No one can change the past, she reminded him gently. What matters is right now. We're going to get to your sister. With every step, they moved further into the shadows beyond the fairground, a place Jake seemed to know intimately, despite the fear that coursed through him. Ellie felt the weight of Jenna, Jake's sister, on her shoulders. Stay with us, Jake, Mr. Rogers said from behind, his voice steadying them all. Just a little further. The path became rougher, roots and stones biting into their shoes. The group stuck close, the festival lights now a mere flicker behind them. Ellie's mind raced as she thought about what could await them. Was his sister really in danger? Were they running into something they didn't fully understand? Do you hear that? One of the volunteers whispered suddenly, her eyes wide. Ellie stopped and strained her ears, heart pounding. At first, it was just the wind, but then just beyond the trees, there was a sound. A muffled moan, sharp and desperate. "Jake," Ellie urged. "Is that her?" Jake nodded, panic surging his chest as he picked up speed. "That's her voice. This way." They surged forward, adrenaline pushing them past fear. Ellie could feel the dynamic shift within their little group. Determination, emboldened by urgency, outweighed the lurking uncertainty. As they broke through the trees, they reached the dilapidated playground, a place long abandoned by laughter. The moonlight washed over the rusted swings and weathered slides, casting long shadows. In the distance, they saw her. There, sprawled on the ground beside the old merry-go-round, was a girl barely conscious. Jenna. Jake didn't hesitate. He rushed towards her, fear and relief colliding in an explosion as he dropped beside her. "Jenna, oh God, please." His voice cracked. Ellie remained just a step back, urgency pressing against her chest. "Mia, call for help," she shouted, her gaze flicking between the two siblings. Jake gently shook Jenna, trying to rouse her from the darkness of unconsciousness. "Please, wake up. I'm here." Tears streamed down his face, yet he fought to keep his voice steady. Ellie knelt beside them, heart racing. In that moment, she realized how fragile life was, how quickly everything could change. While she had fought against her own doubts and fears earlier in the night, here she was witnessing the unyielding bond of family in the face of desperation. Jenna stirred slightly, and Ellie felt hope flicker like a flame struggling against the wind. "Jake, it's going to be okay," she whispered. "Help is coming." But just as light pierced the edges of their darkness, shadows deepened around them. The eerie quiet was pierced by another sound, this time crackling branches in the distance. Ellie's breath hitched. "What is that?" she asked, feeling an uneasy tension thrum through the air around them. "Stay close," Mr. Rogers warned, scanning the trees. "We need to be ready for anything." The urgency in the air shifted once more. Would they only protect Jenna from the darkness that loomed ahead? Or was there something more terrifying waiting in the night? Ellie's heart raced. What awaited them amidst their desperate struggle to save one life might just alter the fate of all their lives completely. As Ellie knelt beside Jenna, time slowed, the world shrinking around them to nothing but the faint whispers of leaves, Jake's frantic breath, and the distant threat that brewed in the darkness. The shadows pulsed like a heartbeat, alive and foreboding. She could see the determination etched across Jake's face, his love battling the rising tide of fear. "Help is on the way, Jake," she repeated, though doubt flickered deep inside her. Would it arrive in time? Jenna's eyelids fluttered, and then she gasped, eyes searching for Jake, who gently cradled her head. "You're safe." "I'm here," he murmured, his voice thick with heartbreak and relief. Ellie felt the warmth of resolve settle in her chest, igniting a flame of action. They weren't just here to save her. They were here to remind each other what it meant to fight for love, for family. A sudden rustle from the trees sent a jolt through the group. "Get ready," Mr. Rogers commanded. He stepped protectively closer to Jenna, his stature a shield they all needed now. With a shout, Mia returned from the darkness, her arms wrapped around an emergency first aid kit and a group of volunteers. "We're here," she exclaimed, and relief washed over them. The chaotic hum of the busy fairground felt like a distant memory, to be replaced by the sounds of urgency. "Jake," Mia called out, rushing forward to assist. "Let us check Jenna out. We need to make sure she's okay." Ellie watched as the scene transformed, a team forming around them in reaction to a deep call for help. It was humanity at its best showing up for one another. Despite the encroaching fear that clawed at her gut, the unity represented by their teamwork pierced through. "Stay with her, Jake," Ellie urged, watching as everyone rallied around Jenna. In that moment, something shifted in her. She felt the fire of hope burst to life again, fueled by their collective efforts. With each second they spent together, she understood that while they faced darkness, the tide of light was growing stronger. "Jenna, can you hear me?" Mia coaxed gently, fingers checking for signs of consciousness. Ellie's heart soared when Jenna blinked and moaned softly, attempting to adjust to her surroundings. "What happened?" she whispered, confused. "You fell, but we're right here," Jake said, brushing hair from her forehead as tears streamed down his cheeks. "You're not alone." Ellie felt a wave of pride wash over her, a silent gratitude for the bond they shared. She recognized the strength of their community, willing to face fears together. But then, out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement. Shadows lengthening near the tree-lean, figures creeping closer. "Mr. Rogers," she warned softly, fingers trembling. "We're not alone. Everyone, stay alert," Mr. Rogers called, stepping protectively in front of the group. "We'll confront this together." As shadows thickened and shapes emerged from the gloom, Ellie's heart raced with uncertainty. But as they stepped into the flickering light, her breath caught in her throat, though not from fear. The figures were familiar. Townsfolk, those who had gathered at the fair, united to support their community. "What is this?" An older man spoke first, confusion mingling with concern. "We heard shouting. Is everyone okay?" Ellie felt the tide shift as the light of recognition flickered in their eyes. "We need medical help for Jenna," she said urgently, pointing to the unconscious girl. "And we have to make sure with every step that we're all safe. Gather everyone," Mr. Rogers commanded, "and let us get urgent help here." In that moment, as hands reached out to aid one another, hope surged through Ellie. The warmth of community surrounded them like an embrace. They were bound together not just by a fair, not just by selfish ambition, but by the threads of resilience they weaved into the very fabric of their lives. In the distance, sirens wailed, an echo of help racing toward them, tightening the tapestry they were creating. Ellie's heart pulsed with a fierce rhythm, sensing they were closer than ever to something magnificent, a shift in perception, a transformation of spirit. Change is possible, she murmured to herself, looking at the determined faces surrounding her. As laughter and cheers erupted again from the festival, Ellie felt a sense of peace wash over her. They had found life amidst the chaos, and tomorrow would bring more lessons. When Jenna's gaze finally met Jake's, Ellie knew they were all stronger for having faced the storm together. They would rise with every sunrise, hand in hand, ready to fight the battles ahead. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, when hope eclipsed fear and light became their guiding force. Together, they would not only stand for their dreams, but uplift their community, redefining their futures once more. As the rain of the past dripped away, it was a promise of brighter days ahead, but only if they continued to dare and believe. Now was their moment to shine. The future was waiting. They refused to let it slide away into the shadows. You need to subscribe now to prepare for more inspiring journeys. This is the moment to show your support and be part of the community. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to feel empowered and uplifted. Leave a like now to give the algorithm the fuel it needs. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about this amazing transformation.